Welcome back. This is still the Polity, reaching you live from the Abuja studios of Kaftan Television. Right now, we'll be heading into the conversation, like I said before the break, on nation building, moving or looking into issues on what the candidates or the expectations people have from the candidates in key sectors of the Nigerian economy and Nigeria at large. I've been joined in the studio now by two guests. On my left, I have Mr. Amici Ajana. He is President St. Peter's Multipurpose Cooperative Society and alumnus Lagos Business School. To my right, I have Mr. Moses Nwokedi. He's a public health expert. Welcome to the program, gentlemen. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. The elections are just about 20-something days away. So, like we see different groups want to know what the presidential candidates have in store, and they are basically pushing for their interest. So let's talk about business generally and the economy. What are your expectations from the next government in terms of boosting the economy and taking us from where we are to where you feel we should be?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, about boosting the economy, you know, if you look at what have happened maybe in the last 4 years, or not just last 4 years, but for long, our economy has maybe a kind of been mismanaged, or the government not putting the priority right. Okay, but what I would like is a situation whereby first, you know, the aim of the government is to make the right policies first. So when the right policies are made, then you now create an enable environment. Look at some institutional framework that will help in the area of course, you see the figure of unemployment is quite alarming. So something like small and medium scale businesses, you see, sometimes when an enable environment is created, it will be easy for such businesses to thrive. Like in an area where we are, in the cooperative, in St. Peter's Cooperative, you know, initially when we started, most idea of people have, okay, let's go to somewhere, get some money from government or get some grant or whatever, loan, whatever. But I told them, I said, look, before you start looking for grants, first build yourself, build a good structure that way. And that also link, because this is not interwoven. Like you see that a good investment in education will also translate to a good investment in the economy, because when people are well educated, when you invest in some of those things that people are well educated, you see that impact will be made to the economy. So what the new government need to do is to first come back to the drawing board and then churn out policies that will help, and also look at how businesses could be stopped, because you have seen that most if you go to countries like Indonesia, those Asian, you see that is those small and medium micro small businesses are the main drivers of the economy. So you look at how you support them, and that is also the kind of thing that cooperative is equally doing. We look into how can small businesses be supported, how can we remove all this bottleneck and maybe in the area of them accessing finances. So if such thing is being done, you see that the economy will start growing. Thank you.
All right. So you mentioned small and medium businesses. Yeah. I think the issue now is people differ on how they can be helped. So I'd like your thoughts on what kind of help you think or environment you think would be better for those businesses to thrive. Take for instance, we have different manifestos out from different candidates. Some believe that the way to curbing unemployment, fixing the economy, is by hiring people massively by the government. Others believe that they just need to do some things for the businesses and they do the rest themselves. They believe in high, increased privatization of things, removing government from the picture and just doing other things that will help them. So from your field or being in the sector, which of these actually helps the businesses?
Okay, I'll give you a practical example. when that was in 2015, when this Buhari government during the first and when they came in into the administration, I think one of the things that they said there is empower, whereby people are being paid. You just do massive recruitment of people and then you pay salary without actually supporting businesses. When I told one of my friends when we were discussing that, I said, this is not a good policy. It's not going to help the economy. He said, why? I said, okay, it's better instead of using that money just to pay people, you actually pay people for doing nothing. You pay large number of people's salary, and it's not tied, where people get money that is not tied to productivity, then you're causing a lot of problem. Instead, it would have been better. Money that we used to pay, like let's say 1,000 persons, why not look at businesses that are developing, support that business, then the business will in turn employ people. You know, the same money will keep on circulating, and you know, when the people are productive, of course those businesses will still pay tax to the government and the money will come back. You know, economy is cycle, it continues all around. But when you give people money, let's say pay them money, they're not working, they're not productive, it's not tied to the product, then you're encouraging laziness. Every month people just sit down and wait for a stipend that government will hand them. And the whole thing, you see that after 4 years, well, at a point, you are not able to support that again, because it's not that kind of economy is not being compensated. You know, when you are like taking out a resource from a particular area, and there is no way of replacing it, bringing it back again, what will happen? After some time, it will be exhausted. So that is exactly so. But when businesses are created, I mean, any good business should be self-sustaining. It should sustain, it should be able to pay, and it should also create more businesses. After some time, those people that are engaged or employed by those various businesses that government support and empower, they will now go on they will grow up like the apprenticeship system. After some time, the apprentice will be able to create his own business, and more people will continue to be employed, and more resources will be created. That's the idea, I think.
That's fair enough. All right, Mr. Nwokedi, let me bring you into the conversation here. Would you like to add to what he said here in terms of the economy and how we can move forward?
For me, I believe that Nigeria will still have a lot of things to do. You must first of all be healthy before you talk about economy. That's the perspective I felt. There is a lot of poverty in the land. You understand, Nigeria is rated one of the most country that is endemic. Poverty is endemic in Nigeria. You understand, there is a whole lot of things going on in the country, and there are a lot of health inequalities. You understand, you don't have no access to good hospitals, no access to good water, hygiene and all that. These are very simple things that can, when the country is being, that have a lot of issue of sickness and diseases, it will also affect economic growth. It will as well affect economic growth. So what am I talking about here? We are talking about Nigerian population is astronomically growing. It's estimated by 2050 Nigeria will grow over 300 million. How is Nigeria prepared? How is Nigeria prepared to sustain and then confront this challenge in order to build a sustainable growth? We have what they call sustainable development goals. Nigeria is part of that signatory that was being initiated. So we should move towards in order to have the well-being of the people and good life. Because if you watch the Sustainable Development Goal 3, you talk about good health and well-being. First of all, you have to be healthy for you to talk about any other thing. So it encompasses into so many things. When someone is sick, you cannot access the good road. You can't access hospital. You can't access the primary health care centers, for medication and to have a good life within you. You see, death can ensue, and Nigeria is really, our infrastructure in terms of health facility is very poor. Either it's underfunding, or the policy that government has even stipulated is not being well implemented. So we need a government that will carry every sector and the facet of Nigerian economy around them in order to bring a robust economy, because number one is that you can see what is happening today, Jackpot syndrome. A lot of people are moving out of this country. They have done their research and found that they want to have a better life. Everybody wants a better life for the children. They want a better life for your family and your mother. Nigeria now, today in Nigeria, the middle class per se, they call middle class. You can see if you have a revenue, a salary earning of maybe 150,000 naira, that poor man in the village is expecting that you will send him 5,000 naira, 10,000. The same cousin in the village is also expecting. The one in the other estate, the rural area, is also expecting money. That burden is much on that little man that called a middle income earner. It draws them down. Poverty is still more dragging down. You see one person carrying almost 10 people along the chain. You can see the burden. So it creates a lot of burden, financial burden and all the rest of it. So it's economic factor, low income. In Nigeria, we are part of low income countries, and all these burdens is being tabled on an individual. So we need a society that is flexible, that is accessible to health, that is accessible to good sanitation, because it's all these things makes growth, economic growth, to enhance.
That's fair enough. You touched on one key aspect. You talked about funding for the health sector. I'd like your opinion, on some proposals that some candidates are making. Some candidates believe that in a more welfareist kind of government, where they, put Nigerians on insurance, give free healthcare and all that. The talk of funding is where that money will come from. That's another issue. And then we have others who believe that it should also be something that is left to the private sector. But there are fears that if it is done in that way, the prices will shoot up and people won't be able to afford. But from your angle, is this really true? What is the best way to ensure that healthcare is accessible for all and also quality healthcare?
It's all about policy. It's all about policy that will be flexible, that can make a common man to be accessible. There are the policy they have set on ground is there. You understand? The certain percentage of total revenue, government revenue should be, be assisted to the other primary health centers. So that money is it being released? How much are they use that money judiciously to help the primary health centers in the rural area, so that poor man in the village can have accessible health care? The insurance policy, the health insurance scheme that they made available to government and non-government private sectors, how have they sensitized to make everybody to be accessible to those things? For example, one of your uncle call you in the village and tell you that he has a benign tumor, that he needs to go for an operation. You look at his spot, what's he doing? He's a taxi driver. A taxi driver, how can he foot the bill of a benign tumor? You see, Nigeria, we should know that even though the sickness is not here today, it will still come tomorrow, or one way or the other. Look at what happened in COVID-19. We are not expecting it to happen, but when it blows up, boom, like a bomb, boom, everybody now running helter-skelter. They say lockdown, lock in. The incident area, we were just around kitty kata. Nobody knows the angle to follow suit and all that. Other developed countries are making their research. There's one thing I come across, I call it informatics. Informatics, the point of incident of that call, you can as well access your phone, send to the government or the portal, they will receive it and know. Now begin to, if you have an incident issue in a particular section, that incident area will signal. By the time the collecting center begin to see a particular incident happening in a particular area, they will now know that population in this area is being affected in some particular thing. Nigeria, are we planning ahead to face another phase of any pandemic that may erupt? This present government that is about coming in, what plan do they have in order to remedy Nigeria? Nigeria escaped it. No matter the figure they have, they publicize all over the media and all the rest of them. I don't know them, but all the same, we are still breathing, we are still moving. We don't pray that the worst will happen, because they said all these virus, they mutate and then enhance in their strength and all that. We pray we will not face such a thing. The Nigeria should find a robust approach in order to manage its populace, in order to prevent disease and death.
That's fair enough. You made some fair points there. Back to you now, Mr. Ajana. I raised what Mr. Nwokedi said there about the Japa syndrome and people leaving. Let's talk about the youths, because interestingly enough, a lot of youths they make a good proportion of these people. Even parents or older persons who have got to a certain level of comfort in life expend funds to send their children rather than themselves first, even though later they might join. So but what's happening is that a lot of young persons are leaving, and most times the countries where they've noted the need for certain experts. So basically those experts, or who have potential to be those experts from here, end up there. Take for instance from the health sector, you see loads of doctors leaving and so on and so forth. So the question now is, with the youth unemployment and all that, how do you think youths can be properly, put to use here, so that they don't end up, considering other options and having to leave? That's those who even have the capacity to do so. So generally, how can youths, the unemployment and all that, how can that be helped within the country?
Well, everything rises and falls on leadership. Okay. In fact, talking about Japa syndrome, just last week, a friend of mine and family, they just relocated to the UK, and he called me. He said that they are here now. He said, well, I have one fear. I said, what is the fear? He said that the fear is that at his old age, that he don't want to stay in this place, and if he decides to come back to Nigeria, nobody is likely to follow him back, so that he will be like that. But then, any good environment is built by people. You look at Abuja. Abuja is a beautiful city. Yeah, it's Nigerians, people that build it. Every good economy is built by people. The challenge we have in Nigeria, mostly in Africa, is that of leadership. Once we have the right leadership in place, an enabling environment will be created. And our people are highly, our people are industrial, our people are productive. We don't have, because most of the people that are not even doing well here, when they go over that place where they have a good environment, you see the kind of amazing result that they are producing. So it shows that we are losing a lot. So all we have to do is to ensure that a right leadership or a right kind of government is put in place. And if that happens, then the nation building will start. Creating the right environment will start. People will start having confidence. I think the greatest problem we have, when I talk to the young people living, they will tell you that they don't have any hope again in this country. But look at it the other way around. That same country that you say that you don't have hope again, the Chinese, the Indians, the Asians, and even some of the people in the West, they move with their capital to this place, and they make a lot of money. It shows you, in fact, Nigeria still have one of the highest return on investment in the world. So, and we have the arable land to cultivate. We have the manpower. We have the youth. All that is lacking is that will, that political will, to put everything in place. Assuming I don't want to be partisan, so I would like mention, okay, like when you listen to some of the candidates speaking, you will see among them who have that kind of plan of building the economy, of restoring hope. We first and foremost, we need a leader that will restore hope. Yes, there is no leader, that there is no president that can come. It should be the president that will be everything that will do it. But the leader can create the right kind of environment first by the kind of character that that person has, and then the kind of competence based on how this person has managed public trust. There was something during our last AGM on Saturday. He said something. He's one of our guest speakers, Mr. Moses. He said something. He said that what is lacking in Nigeria, that the commodity that is very scarce in Nigeria is trust. A leadership that can be trusted. A leadership that will not convert public fund into personal use. A leadership that is not despotic, that we know the need to prepare for the future generation, to build for the future generation. Like when I said before, we still need a kind of investment in education. We equally need that national rebate, whereby people will become one and find the need. Because what you are saying is a very big, if nothing is done, we are going to run into a big problem. Because in as much as, yes, when we move over to that place during the Japa syndrome, they have to make a lot of money. They now ask, what happened here? If all our medical experts are leaving, when we sick, who will treat us? If all our good brains are running out of the country, then which kind of people are you leaving behind? What will happen to the other people? Sometimes, sometimes people will tell me, why don't you consider leaving, sending your family, whatever? I say, who are actually my family? Is it only my immediate family? If I'm going, of course, I have extended family. I have people that I grow together. I have people, just like, imagine what would have happened to the children of Israel if in the wilderness, Moses decided to take his family alone and then abandon them in the wilderness and then go to the promised land alone. What do you think will happen? The whole nation will have perished in the wilderness. Nigeria is in the wilderness now. So we still have to come together. We still have to find a way of galvanizing the people together. I believe something so strongly. This problem can be solved here. We can create that kind of environment that will be so attractive that our people abroad will find enough reason to start coming back. Yes, they can still be there. There's nothing wrong in people relocating, but we can still join hands together and see how we build a better Nigeria. This problem can be solved, and then people can be happy everywhere. People can be you can be whoever you want, you aspire to be in life. It is whether you are in Nigeria or you are in another country.
That's really fair and interesting. You raise a point that I think a lot of people also consider who are living, which is a level of isolation that comes with it. The way you broke it down with the nuclear family, even when that family leaves, there are still families that are attached to you. And whatever it is you were running away from here, there are still, you're going to get that news. If, I'm not saying it's a certain thing, but someone could call you one day and say that thing you were escaping, it has happened to you get. So at the end of the day, we do need to build the nation. So I'd just like to correct another impression you made there. Okay. On this studio here, I'm the only one who is not allowed to be partisan. Okay. So feel free to express whatever views you have in that regard. Okay. So now, I'd like now to just add or speak to your own expertise. The concept of cooperatives is one of people coming together and doing things themselves. So that being said, we have things that we want from the government and so on and so forth. But speaking specifically to the youths now, what do you think they can be doing, in terms of trying to help themselves? Definitely, if you just wait and, hope that the right leader will emerge and the right policies will be made, things might not really go your way, possibly. So what can they do within their own limits and their own strengths to make things better for themselves?
It's okay. Well, there always this that I tell people. When people complain so much about Nigeria or about our leadership or about the government, I'll say, look, in economies we have the macroeconomies and we have the microeconomies. There are areas that is under your control. Take for instance, if you say the economy is bad, the country was in Nigeria, I think Nigeria still have the richest man in Africa. And if you mention top richest people in Africa, I think top 10, you will have like 3 or 4 Nigerians there, right? In the top 10 in Africa. Yeah. So what it shows you is that there is still a lot that the youth can do. There is still a lot that the youth can do to support themselves. When we are starting St. Peter's Cooperative, the whole idea about people is, okay, let's come together, let's see how we can go to CBN, or approach Bank of Industry, approach these people, get grants, get this. I told them, I said, look, before you start looking for someone to help you, you have to first build yourself. The easiest way the easiest way for you to raise capital is through yourself first. The first capital you have is your character. If people know you as someone of competence and character, develop yourself, you will see that it is easy for you to even attract more capital and also to attract more help. And if you start doing that by first developing yourself well, training yourself, of course, and aspire, believe in yourself. But there is sometimes this kind of general belief that people have that is, unless if the government will help me, we cannot do this. That's why I think currently, in my community where I come from, we are driving a kind of citizen-generated solution to our problem. We look at the community, okay, maybe we have issue of road. Instead of wasting our time all the time going to the government, maybe we can ask, okay, how can we pull our resources together to solve this problem? Well, like what we are doing in the area of provision of this in real estate for our cooperative. We come together, we say, okay, what will it cost us to access land? We went to initially, we approached the government to give us land, and we, after filling so much form, waiting for so long, nothing is coming up. And we decided to say, okay, there are some properties, there's some piece of land that is already allocated and that people are willing to sell. So let's see how we can buy that. And we pull resources together. We are working on that, and we are almost achieving our goal. So sometimes the point I'm trying to bring is that you can't wait, especially among the youth, if the government didn't provide education or if the government didn't provide the social environment that you cannot do. After all, who is the government? There is always a way you can help yourself. There is always a way you can collectively bring yourself together. Well, by the time we are developing St. Peter's cooperative, I called a lot of people in our place. I say, look, you're a lawyer, you're an accountant, you're an engineer. We look at your area of core competence. Let's come together. You have some money to save. This is what we are going to give you. Like when we introduce our bond, the kind of fixed deposit, I made a presentation to them. I say, look, these are areas, this is an area where we're investing, and we have done some analysis. This is what it is returning, and because we have this SYZ rate of return, I am confident that if so amount of money is invested, so will return. And people key into that. And when they key into that, they see, well, after our first AGM, second, third, and fourth, they see that we keep on bringing positive results. We are now encouraged to invest in more areas, and it is also yielding. It's also yielding. So it now shows, for assuming we are in our last AGM, you will see what we are talking about. You see the people there, how happy or the cooperators and the investors are, because we are having good results and we are posting this good result annually. That's
still speaking on citizen-centered solutions.
Yes.
But we'll get back to that and some other issues on business and economy. But now let's hear, when you want to fix a system, it's good to already get what the problems are. So being an expert in the system right now, what are the issues in the public health sector?
The issue in public health sector that I can say is that they need to, they have a very poor infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms of both primary health centers, poorly equipped, not accessible to, medications, the system that they are running in terms of dispersing drugs to the poor rural areas and all the rest of them, and preventable diseases, both communicable and non-communicable disease, because it's all about disease preventions. You understand? If you prevent disease, they say prevention is better than cure. You understand? When you prevent disease, it will save a whole lot.
So what can people do in that regard?
It's just a common hygiene. You understand? Wash your hand, keep clean, eat good food, make sure that your environments are neat. By such, you cannot prevent diseases. That's why we say wash your hand. Whenever a child comes back from school, wash your hand. From there, you can prevent cholera. you can prevent all these common diseases. You understand? So by the time you begin to do this, you protect yourself, because first of all, you have to prevent. Because when the outbreak comes up, you may not know how to contend it. If some, like now, there is this is a Harmattan period, a lot of flu going on. You understand? Proper sensitization and education to let people know what to do at any point in time. And the way we abuse drugs in this country is very, very outrageous. I don't know, if somebody is sick of a flu, you start giving antibiotics immediately. Somebody is so it boosts the normal flora, build it up, and then the body system can, normally counter the issue and then set the person back to the tune of track. So we have to put everything in proper perspective to know how we can administer drugs so that we cannot be abusing drugs, because the excessiveness of abusing drugs causes a lot of resistance. That's why you see some people, when they run tests, you say you are resistant to this, you are resistant to that. Poor education on telling people how to manage their ill health. Have they been well sensitized? You understand? Coming to what my brother said concerning his cooperative and all the rest of them, I think I was able to be part of what they did there on Saturday, right? So you understand, housing deficits, even if you look at it, if you have good shelter, if you are well, if you have good shelter, prevent yourself from air pollutions and all the rest of them, it gives you a better advantage. You understand? Like I earlier said, that health inequality, you cannot expect somebody who lives in a very good environment accessible to good health care than somebody who lives in the rural area who cannot access health care. You cannot expect somebody who lives in a place that exposes the person to airway infections, you understand, by all these air pollutions and all the rest of them. You can't expect somebody in that kind of area to live a better healthy life than somebody who lives in a place that is free of air pollutions.
So sorry to cut in there. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. We speak about government and all that, but now I want to take a look at the stakeholders within the sectors. The other day we were at an event where there was, a private body speaking about fertility, the general, well, I say the sector or the field of fertility and all that. And after seeing a lot of things, they want to help people to have children and all that. And we asked, how affordable is this? And there were some murmurings left and right, which means basically it's not accessible to anyone who is not even middle class. Yeah. So the question now is, how possible is it for people within sectors to help in terms of altruism? Just keep profit aside for a moment. But some people, the consumers, usually feel as though people are taking advantage of them. Now I'll bring it now to something happening at the moment, the issue of Naira redesign. People believe that the POS operators are being extreme and that they shouldn't be charging. Some are charging, I believe, 500 Naira for 5,000, 1,000 for 10,000.
Like 10%?
Yes. And so people say the government is not just the problem, you are also the problem. So I want to know, from that perspective, is it really the fault of the people? Take, for instance, housing. If someone says they want to do housing and the prices are exorbitant, is it their fault that they want to make as much profit as they can, or is it something that is the fault of the government, also to the health sector too?
Now, if you look at it now, you see that it starts from the building materials. You understand? That man who goes out to go and buy building materials and find out that cement has increased, nail has increased, steel, wood has increased, because you cannot, block by block, a house is built. You understand? So all these things, when you incorporate them alongside, you will see that the cost of building a house is expensive. But togetherness, when you come in group, you can easily, cooperative can always, when you come in group, you can easily access funds, either by through loans or the other. These are advantages you have. A lot of people who are not privileged to have housing, we're able to, privilege, we're opportuned to have house by that kind of setting. Do you understand? So if it was supposed to be high price, by coming together, the amount will be broken down a little in pieces, and you pay by installment. The flexibility of payment can make you, be accessible to that. Do you get the point? So now, if you put it in regards to health sector, and that is where the health insurance comes in. You understand? I believe that even the private sector, for now, most people that have been highly covered is those public sectors. They go to their different organization because they are organized. You can go there, can access any ministry, and then put the scheme into them. But what is that sole proprietorship? What is that one-man business? Have you approached him to let him know that he can incorporate himself into this? I know that HMOs, they are really, trying in order to, make things happen. But all the same, government need to look in critically. Whoever that is coming into this very government should first of all know that health is number one. Because when you are healthy, you will think of the next thing to do. When you are not healthy, because a lot of people are having challenge, my brother. People are into go to hospital, there is no bed. No bed. The workers, look at a doctor per a patient. The number is outrageous. You see the number of a doctor attending to a patient, and we are hearing that doctors are leaving Nigeria. You understand? Look at the housing, even you talk about house, in terms of housing, you talk about 23 house to 1,000 people in 2018. You understand? We have a kind of housing thing. 23 house to 1,000 people looking for house. Sorry to cut you short there.
We've run out of time now. So in just a minute, I want you to say your final words to prospective voters out there. What do you want them to look out for, and what do you want them to do in 22 days?
Who?
To voters. Well, what do you think they should look out for while they are casting their ballots?
I will tell Nigerians who is going to cast their vote in the coming days to come. You should, take your PVC, look at the candidate, one that is healthy, candidate that is pragmatic, that knows where your problem lies, and that will help you out in times of need, and not people that will take you promise today, the next 4 years you will not see them again. Let us vote people who will look after hear us, and willing to know what our problem is all about, and then put them in the office.
Thank you, Mr. Okidi. Please, your final words to the voters, and what you want them to look out for.
My final word to the voters is that no nation wanting to move forward will go backward to look for leadership. Already, our population growing faster than our economy, which is problem. So what it means is that if we don't vote a candidate who understands the economy, a candidate who will move Nigeria from consumption, from a consumer economy to produce economy, then we will all have to regret that, because already you look at the statistics, you see where the whole thing is heading to. In fact, if we don't take the right decision in 2023, next 22 days, this nation is heading for a doom. There's no doubt about that. So it's not left for the people to decide.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming and for your thoughts and breaking it down today. Hope to have you back sometime soon. Hopefully, maybe close to the election or afterwards, and we'll see if any of these things we've talked about are heading in the right direction. Thanks for coming again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. That's all we can take on the Polity today. Do join us tomorrow, and weekdays 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. where we discuss politics and governance and the state of the nation. Have a nice day. I am Amadine Obewe. Bye for now.